everybody. Did your uncle ever surprise you someday when he came up to the family dinner and said, "These three guys walked into a bar"? Well, I got two compadres and we took that to heart. Welcome to the Three Podcasters Walk Into a Bar. And I mean, we're going to have a absolute fun discussion today. Now, my name's Stu Turley, President and CEO of the Sandstone Group, and I got some compadres down here. I got RT Trevino, and RT is the podcast host for The Crude Truth. How are you today, dude?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's another beautiful day, and it's actually kind of feels like fall here in the great state of Texas. So it's pretty good today. I'd say it's a good one.
I think it's a great one. It looks like you got both your hairs cut today.
One or two of them.
Yeah. Wow. And then next around the corner, we got the David Blackmon. I mean, not just the David Blackmon,
the one and only
one around. He is a author extraordinaire, and his podcast is the Energy Question. And I mean, it's absolutely. I got to sit in and being a producer on it with Alex Eptrine this week.
Yeah.
And David, you actually sounded good. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know either. There was something wrong with my voice that day. I did kind of sound pretty good that day. I must have had enough water to drink that morning.
I'm gonna squeal on you here for just a second. RT, I haven't even been able to laugh at David on this one with you, but he's in there right in the middle of it. We got Alex Eptrine. Almost everybody on the planet knows him. You know, he's out there fighting a good fight and everything else. And they're doing a lot of man love going on back and forth. Hey, would you remember when I knew you? And, you know, I'm over here going, holy smokes, these guys are really bonding. And then David reaches out and I pulls one right out and goes, you know, when you slap a skunk around, I don't know why you're a skunk. And I'm like, what?
I didn't say that to him.
Yeah, you did.
I said he was
him a skunk.
No, I didn't call him a skunk. Well, I did kind of call him a skunk. I called him the skunk at the garden party, you know, because which I am too. I was talking about the fact that, and you know, you have to admire him for doing it because he's become this prophet for fossil fuels, right? In a society where everyone's going crazy about windmills and solar panels.
Oh, yep.
And so I said, you know, where the pop culture on energy is concerned, you're kind of the skunk at the garden party, which is a phrase my dad used to always use. So I'm
the
dating
look
myself.
On Alex's face, Epstein, when he went, "You just called me a skunk?"
I'm not sure he got the reference, but anyway, it wasn't meant as an insult.
Y'all started laughing about it.
Well, I can't wait to hear that interview. I'm excited. I haven't had an opportunity to meet Alex, but I've heard good things, and fossil fuels is on my list. So
he's brilliant. Yeah,
I can't wait. That is the name of the book, right? Fossil fuels. No, fossil.
Here.
Show it off.
Fossil Future by Alex Eptrine. If you haven't bought this book, you need to buy it and read it and take it to heart.
And what I like to do is I get a hardback cover and the paperback, so I can I like to take notes in my books these days. You know what I mean? And sometimes you gotta, I don't know if you've ever read the Prize by Daniel Yergin, but I almost need my magnifying glass for that one, and I have good vision. That one's got small print.
That's the most wonderful. That's the Bible of the oil and gas business.
Yes, it is. But back to Alex. No, I'm excited about your interview with him. I definitely want to. I can't wait for it to come out, and I can't believe you got Stu to produce it, David. I mean, you must have been at the bar to let him do that and talk you into doing it.
He had a lot of extra energy that day.
Yeah. I wish you could have seen me. I was reaching for the phone because I was about to text you. I was within a moment of reaching in and jumping into the discussion going, no, don't call him a skunk.
Don't call him a skunk.
Anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Anyway, he took it well.
He did. It was a lot of fun. Great interview, David. You did outstanding. So, David, what do you got coming around the corner? You had an excellent Forbes article. Who'd you steal the info from?
Oh, I stole it from Reuters and Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Thomas Friedman. Yeah, talking about really given the Biden administration a little credit for once, and I guess tentatively resolving this potential rail strike, and talking about the fact that if we had had that rail strike, if and of course we still could because the deal still has to be voted on by the union members, but if you had a rail strike, then the northeastern United States would have a severe energy crisis because they get about a third of their oil supplies in the northeastern United States on rail cars because the state of New York and the federal government refused to approve the building of any pipelines into the Northeast. And so a rail strike would leave northeastern United States, and I'm talking about the states from Boston, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Maine, would leave them short, not just of oil, but also of natural gas, because they get a lot of natural gas brought into their states by rail as well. And that's because we don't have enough pipeline infrastructure. And it's
well, David, they also import LNG into Boston.
Right. And I talked about that as well. And some of those tankers, they've already had 10 tankers full of LNG come into Boston Harbor this month or the past 2 months.
Wow.
Some of those tankers come from Russia. Some come from Qatar. Some come from Australia. None of them can come from other U.S. ports because of this World War or Civil War era law called the Jones Act, which prohibits foreign flagged ships, which all LNG tankers are, from carrying cargoes from one U.S. port to another. You can only do that on a U.S. flagged vessel, and we don't have any U.S. flagged LNG vessels. It's the most insane situation on the face of the earth. And it's all because of stupid politics, which is what I write about all the time.
Yeah, I was visiting with Colin from the Cato Institute, and he wrote a paper on it. We only have 4 major shipyards. Those 4 major shipyards, 3 of them are military. And so you're down to 1 shipyard, and that shipyard can't make an LNG carrier.
Right.
So
right. And you can't afford to make an LNG carrier in the United States.
No.
They're all made overseas where the labor's cheap, and they're all flagged. The vessels, most of them anyway, are flagged under the Liberian flag because of it's a lot cheaper to insure them and have them licensed in Liberia than it is in the United States. So the flag on the vessels is the flag from Liberia, and so you don't qualify under the Jones Act. It's just a ludicrous situation.
Well, I want to get back to this rail thing because it didn't make that much news. Okay,
right.
That's the first thing. That's very scary, and also the Trump rate has really gotten quiet in the last 10 days. But that's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing. And I have not done any of my own research yet, but I heard this morning that the union of the railroad is making out like a bandit. The concessions that were made were that the employees now don't have to take a day off for going to the doctor, and the average raise is 24%.
Wow.
That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true, but 24%. I mean, I don't know what these guys are making, but if they're, we'll just use $100,000, but you're making 100,000 a year, and you add another 24 to it. That's a darn good raise right there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I heard an entry. RT, I think you're dead on right. I heard an entry number of 117 to 120 just for a standard employee.
I don't say this often. I may be wrong.
Well, I don't say that. It's good work if you can get it, I guess.
I guess so. Wow.
When you consider the negative impacts to the economy the rail strike would have, you pay them whatever you have to pay them, right? It's Warren Buffett's money anyway at CSX Railroad. He owns most of it, and so he's rich. He can afford it.
He can, and and he's a big component of what shut down the Keystone Pipeline. I want that to be very clear. It's real interesting. He's about to own the majority shares of Occidental, but yet he's the one that shut down that helped shut down the Keystone Pipeline so that his railway can continue to ship that oil from North Dakota and Canada back down to the refineries here.
Oh, I'm sure Mr. Buffett would never get involved in politics like that.
You're right. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Oh, man. Well, I don't know if y'all read. I was on for whatever reason I was on Yahoo the other day, and this may have been yesterday. And I don't have a Yahoo account. You know, me and Stu were talking about all the old Yahoo and AOL accounts also the other day. But they were talking about how the article basically stated that Joe Biden is ready to buy the oil to fill up the strategic reserve when it dips below 80. But, you know, basically that the price of oil shot all the way back up. And the article read as if the industry of the oil and gas is a bad guy that was like, oh, he wants to do that. Okay, quick, raise the price. And that's anything but far from the truth. You know, the bottom line is, and I'm sure you both can expand on it, is that once he stops shelling out another 1 million barrels of oil a day into the market, that leaves a hole, and that our supply will be cut short again, and the demand will go up. So guess what? They're already speculating at a price. I mean, I'm getting tired of it. It's I was listening to some people today. It's like we're not the bad guys here. We're not the bad guys.
No, and it's a point the oil companies make all the time is they're not the price setters, they're the price takers, right? It's the oil price is set by speculators and oil traders on a global market, and Exxon does not set the price of oil. And it's just, but you know, for political reasons, demagogic politicians like to pretend it's the other way around, and our news media isn't intelligent enough to correct them for the most part, so they get away with it.
Oh yeah, that's what I hope we do here. You know, minus Stu. You know, I hope we can educate people about something ever.
I don't know about me educating anybody.
Oh yeah, you and your education is you and your strategy, the way you do it.
Man, I don't know.
You said you had 2 different things you were going to educate everybody about today.
You bet. The one that really gets me, guys, is we've all talked about, we've got to get a energy solution.
He sounds like the old uncle, right? You know what really gets my goat? Let me tell you.
Hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
I'll tell you, it just drives me nuts when people are sitting there saying, okay, we've got evidence, as RT would say, we got me some evidence, and we got me some evidence that if you have a bad plan to implement energy, it ain't going to work. The consumers are going to get higher. Businesses are going to fail. Then they're doubling down on stupid and cutting out the food. So you're pulling out natural gas over here. The EU is just a complete disaster. Now, California has always followed those knuckleheads in making bad policy decisions. And excuse me, I'm going to pull my stunt out here. These are my, what you call, Granholms. I want to pretend I am the Secretary of Energy for the United States. These are my beautiful Granholms that,
yes, they're lovely, quite lovely.
Oh, thank you very much.
I thought you were about to get serious, but I didn't know.
I had a pair of glasses look just like that in 1977. Yeah,
I did too. I found these
awesome.
under the desk.
I don't even own a pair of glasses. Oh wait,
RT, let me bring you back in here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, look at you.
Sorry.
Oh, you. Oh my gosh, there's some jokes there, man. Okay, now look, I got my Granholms on, so I'm going to pretend I am Secretary of Energy. Okay, everybody, California is doing it right. Oh, we love California. And they have such high prices, and we are so proud of them that we're going to eliminate EVs. I'm like, holy smokes, they're doubling down on stupid. Let's get one more in here, and they're going to triple down on this, guys. Okay. they're trying to say they're trying to pass a law that says they want to, there you go, they want to triple down on stupid, and they want to make sure that they can not only double down. Okay, this is Granholm. I love me some California. Okay, California says we're going to take your stupid and we're going to triple down on it. They want to go ahead and put in smart appliances, so the government and the governor can sit there and go, you have no AC, you have AC. So now he's going to be the AC Nazi, kind of like out of Seinfeld, the soup Nazi.
Okay. No soup for you.
Oh, guys, California. And then 17 states are going to follow California by regulation or legislation through regulation. And it's like, we got a bunch of people. Oh, I don't want to knock wind power. I don't want to knock solar. I could care less what power we use. Let's let the markets decide. Let's get the cheapest, lowest cost power to the citizens without having any, the least amount of damage. Let's bring some facts to that discussion, and we'll see who wins on that. Do you want me to go to the next one?
Oh, why not?
Okay,
man,
you're on a roll. You're on a roll.
Okay.
Get another round. Stu is
on
a roll.
Itches, so somebody else.
Nothing up my sleeve. Watch me pull stupid out of my hat. Okay, now this one is the EU is going to be doing some taxes here. I mean, they're going to retro into taxing the profits from fossil fuels. Do you know what that does? It raises the price of energy to the consumer. So we got a triple down over here. We got the Granholm effect over here. Then we got the EU proven stupid again. So there's going to be another one, because when they tax the energy companies, there's less investment to come back around to try to lower the price. It's a supply and demand thing. Right. So California is going to go, Europe did a good thing. We're going to follow along behind it. So you're going to see the revolving stupid coming up around the corner.
Yeah, and if we don't have a good outcome in the midterm elections, you're going to see the Democrats in Congress propose and try to move a windfall profit tax nationally next year. I mean, they've already got two different bills circulating in Congress right now that would do that, and it's again completely counterproductive. We need more oil. And all taxing, you don't tax a product that you're short of. You cut taxes on it so that people invest to produce more of it.
But, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that was something, here this president is telling us to drill, baby, drill. They've got more than 75% of all the, federal leases tied up in some form of litigation, regulation, shenanigans. And they're sitting there going, drill, baby, drill, holding this hand behind our back. Then the fact that, we can't get pipe, we can't get the manpower, and that's holding our other hand back to where it's like, we're going to be lucky if we could drill, a half a dozen wells this year, and hopefully we can do the next year. And even the major independents right now are doing their best to just kind of drill. And David, you've mentioned this before. And this should be something, and again, I want this to be a very important point that David Blackmon has said before, not mine, that we have been stagnant for the last 2 months on the rig count. We have not gone up in any more rigs. In fact, I think we've technically gone down a few rigs in the last 2 months. Yeah. So that to me says that supply is once again going to continue to dip, because as a producer, I know that always the biggest returns come on the new wells when they shoot up and they go, and they're going to be successful for the first 3 to 18 months, depending on the well. That is the best life cycle of the well. After that, hey, we got, God willing, 30 years of residual income. That's why I am in this industry, for that income. But right now, we are not drilling here in America. And, once again, we are just being stymied or stagnant when we have an administration that does not want us to do this. So just terrible right now that we are not getting the production that we need.
Yeah, and and Scott Sheffield, Pioneer's CEO, last week said that he warned the markets that the domestic oil production is going to be quite disappointing for the rest of the year and probably for 2023 as well, which means that, right now these companies like his are starting their budgeting process for next year. And what Scott is apparently seeing internally is the likelihood that they're not going to be increasing their drilling budget for 2023. And I suspect most other companies are in the same boat. So, the United States shale business is not going to ride to the rescue on this oil supply deal.
No.
But
And,
it's on that, RT and David, is the fact that out of all the oil producing countries, the US is the only one that can spin up, and we
Right.
can't spin. We're the only ones that can, but we won't because of the Granholm effect.
Right. The Green New Deal insanity.
Yeah, it's we can call it. I don't want to give that lady any credit, Stu, for any of this stuff. She like Buttigieg, like embarrassing. I think Merrick Garland, who he's got a left, right, whatever. He had a great resume years ago. And when they tried to put him on the Supreme Court, and the Republicans stopped that from happening, but these people are not qualified for their jobs. I mean, that would be like me going to a nuclear power plant and going, all right, I'll run the show now. And that's what these people are doing. So whoever's running this administration are the ones that are doing this. And again, they're trying to follow California, trying to put us back in a really in the Stone Age. I actually saw an old report the other day where people were trying to say that the end of the world is coming, and it's like, you know what? America is a cleaner place than it was 30 years ago. Our environment is better. We can breathe
much cleaner,
more easily.
Yeah.
And in my strong beliefs that it's because of the oil and natural gas that we have heat to heat our homes, that we don't need to cut trees, that we have other things other than coal and to move vehicles in the steam engine. We don't have much of those anymore. So we are doing things that are right, I think. Am I right there, David, or no? I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, we're golly, man. I have actual context in my life. I'm old enough to remember when the Allegheny River used to catch on fire in Pittsburgh because it was so polluted.
Right.
And now you can go swimming in the Allegheny River and drink water from it. It's so much cleaner. And rivers all over the country, it used to, as late as the 1970s, were used as open sewers by major cities in the United States of America. And we should credit the federal government, the Clean Water Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, the Clean Air Act, the Endangered Species Act, all laws signed into law by President Richard Nixon in the late 60s and early 1970s, a Republican president, have worked miracles with our environment. And it's a success story of regulation by the federal government that has forced all of that. Same thing for automobiles, the emission standards. The average car, it's a true story. If you poured a teaspoon of gasoline on the ground, it would emit more toxic emissions into the air, that teaspoon of gasoline, than the average automobile made in the United States today emits in a full year now.
Wow.
We have eliminated over 99.9% of vehicle emissions in this country since the 1970s.
David, can you say that one more time, please? Just in case somebody did not hear you.
Right. Over 99.9% of vehicle toxic emissions have been eliminated in this country since the 1970s under the Clean Air Act. But young people these days are not being taught any of this. All they're being taught about is carbon dioxide, which was made the climate boogeyman in the early years of this century. And so we have two full generations of children now who don't know any of this. They have no context for knowing any of that in their lives, and are not aware of the incredible improvements in our environment in the United States and globally, driven by the United States, by the way. It's been done globally as well as compared to just 40 years ago. And so you have this climate hysteria going on today about carbon dioxide that's based on a bunch of computer models that vary widely depending on the variables, the factors you put into them. And that's driving our whole energy policy in this country right now. And, our education system and our news media doesn't report anything else, so nobody knows. It's really sad. And little old me, writing a couple of pieces a week, can't really do the job of educating anyone.
You can do it all. You can do it, David.
No,
And not to mention,
to-
how many kids think that don't mess with Texas really means, you don't mess when it was really the big litter campaign from the 1970s or early 80s.
Right. The
Correct?
1970s is when it started. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
don't get me
We
wrong.
did
you
a
don't mess
ton
with
of good
Texas,
stuff in the 1970s for our environment, folks. And
They did a lot.
we're
man.
all
It was
better off for it.
yeah.
I actually love the Indian commercial when he was crying. I thought it was a great ad.
Who was not an Indian, actually, was not a Native American. What was his name? Anyway, it was a great commercial.
He just passed away.
Yeah. And
Years
I can't remember
ago,
his name, the actor's name, but he was
He
not.
was
I'll tell you what,
Native
though,
American.
if John Wayne was still around, I think the world would be in a better place. John Wayne and now. There you go.
John Wayne for president, baby. I would love to see the Duke, but he was, I think, a Republican, but he's voted Democrat all this time since then.
I'm not going there.
Don't know.
I'm so funny.
Can't imagine what you're talking about, Steve.
But we're coming around the corner on trying to sit here and think, what is going to be the impact to the U.S. economy from the EMP market next year? All the exploration and production companies like RT, like your company, it's the small guys that are going to make a difference, because the big guys have their hands more handcuffed than you guys. You guys are handcuffed by capital.
Absolutely.
But the big guys are handcuffed just as much by capital. I think what I'm seeing in talking to all the investors that I've talked to in a bunch is they're needing tax breaks. Seeing this, 87,000 IRS agents starting to get trained up. Lovely. So, they're going to need tax deductions. And what is going to help the U.S. economy? More oil to lower the price. But, it's going to be the small to medium sized EMPs that will be a difference.
Oh, absolutely. I like to say that we're the ones that take the bigger risks. We're the ones that go literally find an empty field and we'll go put a well in the middle of it, prove that there's 1 million or 2 million barrels. And then that's when an Exxon or a Chevron that has shareholders that they have to report to will go, hey, I'll buy this from you. Now, my father, on the other hand, is going, hey, you know what? If y'all want it, I'm going to keep it and keep developing it for myself for long term. But no, the independents, I believe, we make up over 50% of the production here in Texas. And I'm talking about, I don't want to, I'm not talking about the double eagles or the pioneers. I'm talking about the family companies like Pecos Country Operating and a bunch of other families here in Fort Worth and in Dallas and all over the state. But we're the ones that, make up the majority of the production here. And right now we're having, again, tough time getting pipe, and the funding is just, immense. Thank goodness. Right. I believe his name's Jason Isaac, and the gentleman over at Double Eagle, Cody, they worked with Governor Greg Abbott to come up with that law. What is it, something 13 law that basically said if you're going to defund if you're going to take your investments out of oil and gas here in Texas, we're going to ask you to leave the state of Texas with all your investments.
Right.
I'm butchering that up there, gentlemen. I'm sorry. I'm not a political guy, so I'm butchering it up, but I know that has made a very big difference, at least for the economy of the state of Texas.
There were 10 majors like BlackRock's and 350 or something of other mutual funds that they threw out.
Right.
I am very proud of them for doing that.
Yeah, I'm actually really, and I wrote a little bit about that when it happened. I was really surprised, actually. I didn't really think the comptroller's office would follow through on it. And
we have to step up where we can. We really do. And it goes to show you that we are proud. I can't imagine personally, and knock on wood, but if a Chinese entity came and said, "Hey, I've got money to invest in your oil," I don't see myself today, unless they were a real ally of ours, going, "Oh, sure, yeah, I'll take your money from and invest in my stuff." It's like that to me really tarnishes what we have here, which is American oil on American soil. And I think it was us in a way fighting back and standing up for ourselves in a great strategic way.
Yep. No, it was really good. And
the only thing I got out of that, David, I didn't mean to cut you off, but the only thing I got out of that whole conversation is RT said I was right about one thing finally.
Well, there had to be one thing, right?
We'll get the Karl Rove whiteboard and put one.
Well, here's what I took away from what RT was saying is, I need a favor from you, RT. My family owns a little farm in Goliad County down in South Texas. Yeah. And I want to get your company come poke a hole in our South Farty pasture and prove there's 1 million barrels a day under there, right?
Yeah.
I could use a little mailbox money in my life right now.
You know what? And that's Spindletop right there, David. I mean, I know you're not you're not a destitute kind of guy, but the farmer was. I don't know if you know that about Spindletop, but the farmer was destitute. And then the drilling company was almost out of money, or they were almost out of money when they at 106 feet. It kind of reminds like how many times did they have to drill before they hit just at 106? Right. But so hey, was the farmer a millionaire already, or did he become a millionaire after the oil was discovered?
Yeah, exactly.
Which one comes first, the egg or the chicken?
No, there's oil millionaire farmers all over the state of Texas. I one of my favorite stories is from the Eagle Ford Shale, the early days of the Eagle Ford back in 2010, 2011. A friend of my parents had bought a little place outside Corn City. I grew up in Beeville, Texas, down South Texas, and in Corn City is like the center of the oil play in the Eagle Ford Shale. And he had back in the 70s bought a little patch of land, about 30 acres, and he said, I ran into him one trip down to Beeville, and he came up to me, he said, one day, my wife and I were having dinner. It's about 6:30 in the evening, and we hear a knock on the front door, and it's a fellow from Conoco who told us he wanted that Conoco wanted to lease our land, not to drill for oil, but to drill 2 or 3 high-pressure water wells down into a deep aquifer that runs underneath that part of the country. And over the ensuing year, he became a multimillionaire by selling water to ConocoPhillips, not oil.
Well, he was I guess by the left, he was a pretty okay guy then.
Oh, he was a great guy, just the most wonderful man in the world. I mean, he was.
You'd love to see that. You'd love to see that for those.
There's people like that all over Texas.
God bless Texas.
God bless Texas.
That's right. Got to say it.
Well, I'll tell you what do we got coming around the corn? Corn. Boy, I'm ready for dinner.
Corn. Okay. We're talking Nebraska now. Okay.
I think once again, you're cut off first, dude. Well, I think you were cut off first last week too, Stu.
Oh yeah. Okay. RT, give us your last words.
Oh man. Let's keep it up, everybody. Let's just continue to share our knowledge with others. And that's all we can do.
That was brilliant. Unusual, but brilliant.
My final words are God bless Texas. Everybody have a good week. We'll see you next time.
Sounds great. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys soon.